My name is Dawn Flores. I am a multidisciplinary artist based in Richmond, Virginia. I take photographs and turn them into fabric patterns and then make those fabric patterns into quilts. I also use salvaged material to make assemblage pieces, and I employ the rituals of remembrance and grief as I make this work. From 2015 until 2022, I worked on the Forest Project, documenting 60 acres of urban forest before, during, and after it was clear-cut for residential development. I did this through multiple collaborations, and I collected over 1 million seeds and rescued over 2,000 plants. And many of the things that I rescued ended up in this piece behind me called Mason-Dixon Forest. It's all the ingredients of a forest, safely preserved in glass bottles, but it lacks the ability to germinate, grow fruit, or nourish. Therefore, it is an unsustainable model. Two of the pieces I was working on for the Forest Project were in remembrance of the enslaved who worked the land for 230 years, because this was the site of a former plantation. And as I was working on that work, George Floyd was murdered, and my city, which is the former capital of the Confederacy, erupted in protests. And I spent days and weeks going down to the monuments, photographing pictures of the graffiti, and I did the same thing I did for the Forest Project. I processed my grief through making fabric patterns and then turning them into quilts. And I very quickly came up with the idea of making a two-sided American flag. One's right side up, denoting our perfect union, and the other side is upside down, denoting the sins of our foundation and white supremacy. The large flag is 12 by 6 feet, and the first time I exhibited, I saw how much it meant to people. And I thought how wonderful it would be for them to have a piece of this in their own homes. And so I came up with the idea of making mini atonements. And I had just as much fabric as I put into the large flag left over from my practicing making the fabric patterns, that I had enough material for 79 mini atonements. So while I was visiting the monuments, I saw a sticker that said, "Funeral of a Nation. In memory of who we were, a tribute to who we will be, where past meets present, a future is born. The death of one nation is the birth of another." And I was really struck with the resurrective feeling I got reading that, because I think that my work is also about resurrection. It's about what is happening and then what we make of it afterwards. So I made a fabric pattern out of that quote, and then it wasn't until 2 years later that I had the idea to actually Google Funeral of a Nation, and I was really delighted to find a 30-minute musical essay by hardcover, which is produced by Harold Lilly and Keith Nixon Jr. And when I watched it, I realized that it was the healing balm to go with my work, and that it was the perfect match for the atonement flag. And I'm so grateful that Harold and Keith are collaborating with me. I hope that people who come to the exhibition have an emotional response to the work that they're seeing and do some self-reflection. And ultimately, what I want them to take away is peace, a sense of healing, and also a sense of urgency and readiness to take action. I just recently bought several books about the history of fabric and fashion, and I want to continue with the fabric and make costumes and toys and things like that. And yeah, we'll see.